The world is not a marketplace of fairness. It is a battlefield where loyalty is an illusion, and every smile conceals a dagger. Julius Caesar knew this truth too late. The Senate rose to honor him. His closest allies drew near. He saw familiar faces, warm voices, trusted men. And then, the steel entered his flesh, again and again. The last wound wasn't from an enemy. It was from a friend, and that scar never left history. You know this feeling in smaller doses, the colleague who praises your work in the meeting, then whispers poison to your boss when you're not in the room, the friend who swears loyalty at night, then joins the mob that mocks you the next day, the lover who calls you irreplaceable until they replace you. Every arena is the same. Work. Love, family, society, betrayal is the currency, trust is the fraud. Machiavelli warned us centuries ago, men are ungrateful, fickle, liars, deceivers. He who builds on their loyalty builds on sand. Do you hear the echo? Build on sand. Watch it collapse. Build on loyalty. Watch it vanish. So let me ask you, if betrayal is inevitable, how do you negotiate with traitors and still walk away victorious? If every handshake hides a knife, how do you extend your hand without losing your throat? I learned it the hard way. A friend I once called brother looked me in the eye, promised me loyalty, then sold me out for approval from strangers. That night I understood. The game is rigged, 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 and survival is not given, it is taken. Picture it, the handshake that feels warm, but conceals cold steel behind the back. That is the world you live in, not fair, not safe, not honest, and that scar never left me. If you've ever felt the sting of betrayal, say aloud, I will not be deceived again. That is your initiation. That is your entry into a darker truth. Because to survive this world, you must master the first ruthless move. The most dangerous lie is the truth told too early. Truth is a blade, naked, sharp, and when you hand it over too soon, you place the weapon in your enemy's hand. In ancient Greece, there was a soldier who believed honesty was strength. Before the clash, he revealed his entire plan to an ally he thought loyal. The ally passed it on. The enemy waited, prepared, and crushed him. His truth became his tombstone, his clarity became his coffin, and that scar never left history. You've lived this in your own life. At the interview, you thought honesty would earn respect. You spoke too much. You confessed weaknesses. You laid bare your insecurities. The room nodded politely, then used every word to cut your value down. At school, you told a so-called friend about your secret crush. By the next morning, the hallways echoed with your humiliation. At work, you shared your vision in a meeting. Hours later, someone else wore your idea like stolen armor and claimed the victory. The truth you revealed too soon did not liberate you. It enslaved you. Machiavelli whispered a law that still burns. Centuries later, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you are. Appearances are masks. Appearances are armor. The man who reveals too much becomes naked in a room of wolves. The man who conceals becomes untouchable. When they think they know you, you have already lost. Read that again. Hear it again. When they think they know you, you have already lost. Because knowledge is power. And the moment you give it away, you surrender the battlefield before the war even begins. I learned this the hard way. Once, I trusted a friend enough to explain my plans in detail. Every move, every step. Within weeks, he was living my life, speaking my words, chasing my dreams with my stolen strategy. And that scar never left me. It taught me the rule that carves through every negotiation, every deal, every conversation. Reveal nothing you don't have to. Nothing. So I'll ask you now, how many times have you been betrayed not by a lie, but by your own truth spoken too soon? How many times have you armed your enemy by thinking you were being honest? Commit this vow to yourself. I reveal only what I choose, when I choose. Type it now. Type I choose survival if you see the truth. This is no ritual of words. It is armor being forged, because concealment alone is not enough. Masking your truth is survival. But the next move bends perception itself. And when you learn it, you won't just survive the wolves. You'll starve them. What is abundant is ignored. What is rare is worshipped. This is not opinion, this is law, carved into the bones of history, etched into the marrow of human desire. Cleopatra knew this truth better than any queen. She did not walk among the people daily. She did not allow her presence to become ordinary. Instead, she orchestrated it. Imagine her sailing down the Nile, veiled in silks, surrounded by perfumes and gold. She appeared not as a woman, but as a vision, rare, untouchable, unforgettable. Her scarcity was her power. Her absence was her throne, and this law has not died. It lives in your life right now. When you text her every hour, she forgets you. When you call him every day, he grows indifferent, but vanish for a week. Suddenly you exist in their mind more than ever. Mystery grows in silence. Desire feeds on distance, the same at work. The colleague who never shuts up in meetings becomes background noise, but the one who speaks rarely, precisely, deliberately, commands the room when they finally open their mouth. Machiavelli knew this rhythm of human hunger. Men are more moved by the things they see seldom than those they see daily. Scarcity breeds fascination. Scarcity builds myth. Scarcity transforms flesh into legend. But here is the brutal twist. Scarcity cuts both ways. You've felt it. Think about the one who ghosted you, the person you wanted who withdrew their presence. Their silence filled your nights. Their absence enslaved your mind. You replayed their words, magnified their gestures, created stories where there were none. Scarcity is a chain. Scarcity is a throne. And if you don't wield it, someone will wield it against you. I lived this once. I made myself too available, too eager, too constant. And she treated me like furniture. Common, replaceable. But when I withdrew, when I chose silence, her tone changed. The texts grew longer, the calls more frequent. Her hunger was born in my absence, and that scar never left me. So repeat this until it burns into your mind. The less they see you, the more they want you. The less they hear you, the more they imagine you. The less they touch you, the more they crave you. This is not cruelty, this is survival. Whisper it to yourself now. I choose scarcity over saturation. Type it below if you see the truth. This is your ritual. This is your armor. Because scarcity creates hunger. But hunger without direction is chaos. The next move takes this hunger and bends it into your control. And once you learn it, you won't just be desired, you'll be obeyed. Silence is not emptiness, it is pressure, it is leverage, and in the hands of a ruthless man, silence is sharper than a blade. A medieval king once summoned his nobles for counsel. They argued, they shouted, they clawed for influence. The king? He sat in silence. He refused to speak first. Hours passed. Voices cracked. Fear spread like smoke. Every noble twisted themselves, desperate to guess his mind. His silence bent them into knots, and when he finally spoke a single sentence, it landed heavier than all their hours of noise. His silence was his crown. His pause was his throne. The same law governs your life. Step into a salary negotiation. If you speak first, if you blurt out the number you think you're worth, you hand them your soul. You thought you were being clear, but you only set your ceiling. And watch. Your employer slices the offer just below your minimum, leaving you trapped in chains of your own making. It is the student who blurts out their bottom line. It is the man who reveals too soon. It is the friend who fills every silence with nervous chatter. And it is all weakness. Machiavelli whispered the warning centuries ago. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool fills silence with noise. The wise man holds silence until the other collapses. So let me ask you, what weighs more? Words spoken or words withheld? What cuts deeper? A loud declaration, or the silence that forces the other to reveal themselves? I learned this lesson carved into my skin. Once I begged a friend to explain their betrayal. I filled the room with questions, with noise, with desperation. He said nothing, not a word. His silence crushed me more than his answers ever could, and that scar never left me. Remember this: silence is not passive. Silence is power. Silence is the invisible hand on the throat of the weak. You don't need to roar to command a room. You only need to hold the pause long enough for their fear to fill it. Silence negotiates. Silence interrogates. Silence dominates. So say it now. Engrave it into your mind. I will let silence negotiate for me. Type I choose survival if you see the truth. Ritual is not tradition, it is transformation, but silence alone cannot win. A mute wolf starves. To rule, you must shape perception itself. You must decide what is revealed and what is hidden in shadow. And once you master that, their eyes will never see you the same again. What you reveal defines you. What you hide controls them. This is the brutal law of exposure. It is not light, it is shadow. It is not honesty, it is theater. An emperor once ruled not through endless displays of wealth, but through scarcity of revelation. Most days he lived behind veils hidden, unreachable. But on festival days, he emerged in robes of gold, parading jewels that shimmered like fire. The people believed he bled wealth, that rivers of treasure flowed through his veins. But the truth? His vaults were almost empty. His empire was built not on gold, but on illusion. Exposure, rationed and calculated, forged obedience more powerful than armies. The same law rules your world today. On social media, men who drip-feed fragments of luxury, the watch, the car, the glass of champagne, are worshipped as if they live in palaces. Yet you know the truth. The photo hides the debt, the staged apartment, the rented car. But perception is reality, and reality bends to performance. Machiavelli cut to the bone. Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. He knew men are blind to substance, yet slaves to image. To reveal too much is to bleed in the water. To reveal strategically is to control the hunt. So ask yourself, when you speak, do you reveal truth or bait? When you post, do you display power or desperation? And when they think they've seen your full hand, are you already preparing the card they can't imagine? I learned this lesson through betrayal. I once trusted someone I loved with my secrets. I revealed everything, my fears, my doubts, my wounds. And when the storm came, those secrets were forged into chains, dragged against me, twisted into knives, and that scar never left me. I learned then, oversharing is self-destruction. I learned then, exposure without calculation is suicide. So repeat after me. I reveal strategically, not impulsively. Whisper it like steel in your throat. Type I choose survival if you see the truth, because only those who calculate their exposure walk this earth unbroken. Understand, you are not required to show your scars. You are not required to announce your plans. You are not required to parade your wealth. Every piece you reveal must serve a purpose: intimidation, attraction, control. Never sympathy. Never weakness, because here is the final echo. Exposure bends perception, but perception without control is chaos, and chaos without distance will consume you whole. The next move is colder. Detachment. The art of standing close enough to touch, yet far enough to never be owned. The mask of exposure fades, but the armor of detachment waits. What you fear to lose will be used to enslave you. This is the iron law of power, and until you carve it into your bones, you will walk this earth in chains. The samurai knew this truth. Before stepping onto the battlefield, he performed a silent ritual. He accepted his death. He entered combat already dead in his own mind. And because of that, he fought without fear. No bargain could tempt him. No threat could break him. A man who accepts loss becomes untouchable. A man who fears loss is already defeated. You've seen this play out in your own life. In business, the desperate side always bleeds. The man who needs the deal will accept scraps. The company starving for investors will hand over its throat. Desperation leaks through every word, every glance, every silence, and the predators smell it. And worse, sometimes the predator wears the face you love. A partner whispers, "If you don't change, I'll leave." And because you fear it more than they do, you bend. You kneel. You erase yourself to keep what was never truly yours, and that scar never left me. I once clung so tightly to someone that when they left, they didn't just take themselves. They took parts of me I had no right to give away. I learned then, what you fear to lose will be used against you, always. Machiavelli understood it well. He who lets go of what he cannot keep gains what he cannot lose. Detach and you cannot be blackmailed. Detach, and no one owns your pulse. Detach and you walk through fire untouched. So hear me now. Detachment is clarity. Detachment is power. Detachment is survival. Repeat it until it burns through your throat. Repeat it until it becomes the rhythm of your blood. Ask yourself, what is binding you now? What keeps you kneeling? What threat could they hold over you that would silence your will? And if you know the answer, ask again, why are you still chained? Speak this oath, I am bound to nothing, therefore nothing binds me. Type I choose survival if you see the truth, because the weak cling, the strong let go. Understand this, detachment is not coldness for its own sake. It is not the rejection of love or wealth or loyalty. It is the refusal to be ruled by the fear of losing them. You can hold what you value, but hold it lightly. For the tighter you grasp, the easier it is for them to twist the knife. Remember the desperate beg, the detached command. The clinger is played. The free man dictates the game, but detachment alone is passive. It builds armor, yes, but armor does not strike. The next move is not silence, not waiting, not distance. It is the sudden blade that appears where they least expect it. The sixth move strikes without warning. Pure morality is a crown of glass, beautiful, fragile, shattered in the first storm. History remembers a leader who faced an impossible choice. His city was surrounded by enemies, outnumbered, starving. If he told his people the truth, panic would devour them before the enemy arrived. So he lied, he painted hope across the walls. He whispered of reinforcements that would never come. And the people fought with fire in their blood. They endured. They survived. Was he a savior or a deceiver? History never decided. And that is the point, because purity is weakness. The man who clings to always telling the truth becomes a slave to his own code. The man who adapts, who bends, who conceals, who lies when the storm demands it, outlasts. Outlasts the naive, outlasts the rigid, outlasts the pure. You see this every day in your own life. At work, a manager shields his team from an executive's poison. He doesn't tell them the full brutality of the situation. He withholds. He reshapes. And because of that, they keep moving forward instead of collapsing. Would you call it dishonesty, or strategy, or survival? Machiavelli understood the knife edge of this truth. It is safer to be feared than loved when one must be lacking. Love demands purity. Fear demands results. Morality is a mask. Power is the face beneath. So let me ask you, would you rather be loved and destroyed, or feared and remembered? Would you rather wear the crown of glass, or wield the blade of steel? I learned this lesson in the most painful way. A friend once asked me for brutal honesty. They said, don't hold back. Tell me the truth. I gave it to them, raw, unfiltered. They never spoke to me again. They swore they wanted truth, but what they really wanted was comfort wrapped as honesty. And that scar never left me. Remember this. Morality is a luxury for those who have power to spare. Ambiguity is the weapon for those who fight to survive. You don't act to look good. You don't act to win applause. You act to achieve what is necessary. So say it aloud. I act not to look good, but to achieve what is necessary. Type I choose survival if you see the truth. Ambiguity breeds survival. It grants you the shadows where others only see light. It allows you to lie without guilt, to bend without breaking, to twist without shattering. And in that twilight between savior and deceiver, you discover the path to real power. But survival is not enough. Shadows protect, yes, but shadows alone cannot rule. To turn survival into dominance, you must master leverage. The art of holding another man's chains in your hand, while wearing none of your own. And that is the next move. Power does not roar, it whispers, and still the room obeys. A general once marched his army to the border of his enemy's land. He did not invade. He did not fire. He simply stood there, silent steel, waiting. The enemy surrendered without a single arrow loosed. That is leverage. That is force without motion. That is power without noise. The naive believe authority lives in shouting. They think volume equals dominance, that rage equals respect. But the truth is darker. The man who must roar has already lost. The man who whispers and makes the world lean in, he is the one they fear. You see this in your own life, in group projects, in business, in relationships. The one who steps forward during chaos, who quietly solves the problem, who carries the weight without asking, the group bends around him. He never demanded authority. He absorbed it. He never raised his voice. He made them listen anyway. Machiavelli understood this subtle venom. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. Loudness is force. Silence is deception. And silence always lingers longer in the mind. Think of the boss who never shouts, the one who rarely speaks, but when he raises a single eyebrow, the room dies into silence. No thunder, no roar, just quiet gravity. Everyone feels the weight. Everyone obeys. That scar never leaves them. I know the other side of this truth too well. I once confided in someone I trusted, shared too much, too loudly, a family member. I thought silence meant weakness, so I filled it with words. They smiled, nodded, and later used every detail to betray me, to weaken me, and I learned. The loudest man in the room is always the easiest to wound. So mark this vow. My quiet presence is heavier than their loudest noise. Type I choose survival if you see the truth. Because here is the brutal paradox. The heaviest hand is often invisible. The most dangerous blade never leaves its sheath, and the man they fear most is the man they cannot read. Silent leverage is not absence. It is a weapon, a mask, a shadow that presses on the throat of the room without a single sound. And once you master it, you no longer need to beg or argue or plead. The world begins to orbit you, but leverage is not the end. Leverage is only the pressure. The final move, the crown, belongs to obsession, the obsession that separates amateurs from sovereigns, and that is where the game ends and the empire begins. The world does not reward effort. It rewards outcomes. It does not care how hard you bled, how long you suffered, how pure your intentions were. It only kneels to results. Napoleon was not remembered for how many nights he planned his campaigns. He was remembered for crowns taken, empires broken, maps rewritten. The world did not honor his process. It bowed to his outcomes, and this truth repeats itself in every corner of your life. In school, the one who studied all night but failed the test is forgotten. The one who barely studied but scored the highest, he is praised, envied, remembered. Life doesn't pay the worker. It pays the finisher, not effort, not process, only results. Say it again. Only results, because the world is rigged against your sweat, your grind, your pain. Effort alone is invisible. Effort alone is forgotten. Rigged, 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 Machiavelli whispered this centuries ago. Men judge generally more by the result than by the means. Your sacrifices, your struggles, your nobility, none of it shields you if you fail. The one who delivers, no matter the method, becomes king. I once trusted someone, family. I thought loyalty would earn loyalty. I worked for them, carried them, bled for them. They took my effort. They spat on it. When the time came, they sided with the man who won, not the one who suffered. And that scar never left me. This is the knife no one warns you about. You can give everything, play fair, play right, and still be discarded because your effort did not crystallize into victory. A man can sacrifice his entire life for the right way, and yet history will stamp his name with failure. His sweat evaporates, his legacy burns, not effort, not process, only results. So you must become obsessed. Obsessed not with the applause of the crowd, not with the illusion of fairness, not with the purity of method. You must be possessed by the outcome. Cold, relentless, uncompromising, because in the end there is no scoreboard for struggle. There is only the tally of victory. Choose your path now. Whisper. I seek outcomes, not applause. Results, not recognition. Type I choose survival if you see the truth. These are the 8 ruthless moves, each one a blade, each one a shield. If you wield them, betrayal will no longer crush you. Instead, it will sharpen you. The world will no longer use you as a pawn. You will become the one who moves the pieces. The wolves are waiting, but you are no sheep. Choose survival.